folks, I'm L.A. Little, and this is your daily TA wrap. Where we take a look at these markets from a neoclassical perspective and ask ourselves, what happened today? What is the trend? And where is the supply and demand? I do this show 4 times a week, Monday through Thursday, live at 9 o'clock Eastern Time, here from the base of the beautiful Rocky Mountains. TV schedules here, everything you can pop in here, TATV, all channels, pick up the channels. You can talk to me in multiple ways, email, chat room, text messages. Got a first text message tonight, probably should give a bonus to somebody for that one, huh? But multiple ways to get in contact with me. Let me know what you're thinking, what you want to see, what you're interested in. Most of the time I have plenty to talk about, but I do try to make time to look at what you're interested in. As far as what the market did today, there's a different picture on the markets. So let's take a look at that. We had the Dow actually up today, and so did the SPX, and it was a struggle pretty much all day long. But the Dow ended up 26. Week bounce 14,803, 26.5 higher. We had the S&P's up a whole dollar, 1656.5. Nasdaq still down another almost 0.5%, 17 points, 36.77 3/4. The NDX down 11 1/3, 3142.5, and the Russell down about 1/3%, 3.8, 1043.5. Gold was down fairly big today at about 20 bucks or so. It's down a couple more. And silver was down pretty hard. Dollar was up big today, gapped up almost 0.5%. Oil was down. Everything, all the commodities traded down pretty much. Dollar was up. Equities mixed. So what do we have here in terms of where is this market trying to head next? And that's not an easy question to answer, but we'll do our best. You know, and when I say it's not an easy question to answer, what I'm really talking about is that so much of it right now is just news flow, right? It's what's happening, you know, hour to hour on Washington, on Capitol Hill. You know, what are the lawmakers doing? What kind of speeches Obama making? So forth and so on. Last night we had Yellen. It was leaked that she would be nominated today, which she was late today. That gave us a bounce last night. That bounce, as you can see, we got a doji here, so that means we opened about here, we traded down, and then came all the way back and closed here. Now dojis many times end up being turning points. You don't know until the next day, but you know, after a pretty good move down, we finish off ABCD structures. As a matter of fact, if you take the bigger ABC structure, you almost finished it. You also came into this top of the August 27th bar. That's the wide price spread bar. That's an anchor bar. 32.1 over there. We did 35 on the way back. We did 35 yesterday. So we're doing about the same volume. We got under it, back over it. You know, it could be a turn. It's mixed signals though. I mean, you're almost the same amount of volume. You hit into something that has less volume. You'd like it to be cleaner, but it's not. And that's the way it is. You just take what they give you, so to speak. It was a very weak bounce, but you know, a lot of times weak bounces is what you get after an extended move to the downside. And if we look at the Dow, you'll see an extended move. This thing never lifted until today. It actually undercut the lows, got up underneath them. Volume over here is doing against 1.1. That low that printed, the last one that printed was here is 1.04. So you know, it's about the same volume, just slightly less. Also more or less a doji, not as narrow as the S&Ps, but still straight down. Little doji at support, holds. It's probably going to try to bounce. S&Ps probably going to try to bounce. If we go to the stronger guys, the NDX. On the NDX, you're coming into swing point highs. This is the first time back to do a retest, regenerate. What you like to see is you like to see the bar that you broke, volume there 16.6, the bars that you were coming into, you got what, 14, and over here you got 16 and a half. You do 22. You did 20, 21 almost yesterday. So you're doing heavier volume back into a support area. It's a retest, regenerate area, and it's kind of a critical one because these are your stronger indexes. You hit it with way too much volume. You do get up underneath it, 31.18, 31.17. You don't get underneath this one, but it is enough to turn it come back. When you come back after more than 6 bars, it's almost always a buy. Not always, but almost. I mean, it's a high probability buy. You can almost blindly, cover your eyes and take a shot at it. Didn't work today. If you bought it and sold it today, I wouldn't be surprised if the SPX, the Dow, try to lift and try to lift this with it. But these are weak indexes. NASDAQ's going to look just about the same probably. I think there was expanded volume. It was. Also coming back into retest regens the first time. There was 3 of them on this one, if you remember. That was what gave it the big push. As you come back into them, you got more volume. You get up into all of them, and you had more volume than the breakout bar. All of that is not good. But sometimes it doesn't matter, and you'll get the bounce anyway. Same setup as the NDX is going to try to do some sort of a weak bounce. The thing is that the way this is set up now, you can test again tomorrow, but more than likely what's going to happen is you're going to leave some volume down here. You're going to get some sort of a bounce, which says you're going to come back. And so that's what these things are setting up to do down the road here. On the Russell, again, same sort of thing, slightly less volume than yesterday. You got underneath it. You came into this swing point high first time back. That's to do a retest regen. Volume there is not heavy. Volume on the breakout was heavier. That was 369, testing with 357. So actually this one also looks like it's going to try to bounce. This one's a little cleaner than the NDX and the NASDAQ. Not as clean as SPX and Dow. So your listed issues, which have been the dogs, now are attracting buyers. And your stronger ones, which were the stars, now are the dogs. It's rotation. We've talked about it a couple nights. It's the same sort of thing. People tend to sell their winners. The winners have been over here. This is where they sell first. Where do they go? They take and put their money in something with lower beta. I wrote about that today. If you haven't had a chance, you might see this article, the rotation rather than leaving. That's typically what they do and how they work. Actually, I need to span this out so you can see it, rotation rather than leaving. So that's the way these indexes are set up. It's a mixed picture. It's been a mixed picture. It continues to be a mixed picture. It's just that after almost all the ABCDs, as we're going to get into here in a second on the major sectors, after all of these have pretty much completed on the downside, you can expect some sort of a bounce, but it looks to me like it's not going to go very far. IYT, transports, under, back over, more volume. And this one was trying to get into a big bar. Which one was it? It looks like it was this one. And that was 1454. He got into it and rejected, right? Came into it, couldn't hold it, flipped around. That finishes off ABCDs, and you're going to see that in almost all these. So once you finish them off, you can expect some sort of a sideways or potentially a bounce out of them, and that's what these look like they're going to try to do. That one was a little doji. As semiconductors, remember, these guys couldn't give it up. Now they're starting to give it up. Got under the swing point low. I guess that closed just under it, just barely. Got under it yesterday, you closed, you did a little all underneath the bottom. I don't quite understand why that one printed that way. Maybe it's I'm missing something here, but anyway, the point is you came back to volume, you didn't have it today. Coming into the big bars finally, you held, looks like you barely held the support line. 39.50, 39.44. No, closed under it, so that support line will not be there tomorrow. So you'll back up into these big bars and pull some support down in here. This one can work lower. It came in and tested the gap area from here. That one also looks like it could get a small bounce, but probably has more testing to do as well. Now if I walk my list here, I think all of these are going to look the same. The XLB finishes off ABCD, comes into support. Volume's pretty heavy. Yeah, that one also looks like it wants to bounce. XLE, even heavier volume. Nothing good about that one other than the fact that it's finishing up. Let me see what the oil services look like. With oil down $2 or so today, that put a lot of pressure on these. Oil services also picked up in volume. Didn't go down much, but they definitely tested into this area with more volume. That also looks like it's going to try to, you know, given these long tails, usually that will give you some sort of an attempt to rise. The thing is you could rise tomorrow and fall by the end of the day because it's all news flow, and these are set up once they bounce to try to fall again. Industrials. This one had a lot of volume as well yesterday and again today. Test into support, has more volume. ABCD structure, I believe, was done yesterday. If not, it's definitely done today. Barely held its support, tested right into it, bounced off of it. I would think that, you know, here again, you potentially can get your bounce and then you come back. XLF actually expanded in volume today, pretty heavy volume. This one is going after the lows, and there's nothing pretty about this. Remember, the two big financials, and actually two of the strongest ones, report on Friday. Wells Fargo and JPM. Consumer staples, this is kind of where money's rotating. They're going sideways, not doing anything. The XLK I missed. Let's go back to it. Technology probably looks like the NDX. Yeah, it gets under it, has more volume. Notice the swing point lows that are lining up down here now. Now this one had already been broken, so it's really just one. It tested it today, bounced back over it. And you're starting to see, you know, I talked about this on the SPX, but you're starting to see 3, 4, 5. These aren't going to print though. 21.31. You actually need 2 more weeks on this one to print a low. Let me look at some of these others on the weeklies real quick. So this is the XLI. Yeah, see, all of these have 5 weeks on them with this week. In other words, how many bars since that last low printed? This one actually will print here. It's already printed actually, XLE. But you can see the lows are not that far down. What is that? 79.83, which is the lows you see over here, right? Those are going to become critical areas just like on the SPX. If you start seeing multiple swing points break across multiple sectors, you know, all it takes is 2 or 3 of those to get going, and they'll probably all go. So, you know, that's intermediate term, right? And so that's where it gets more dangerous. Let's look at the last couple of sectors. XLV. Yesterday, remember, this one sold off pretty hard. Volume expands again today. And that one has an ABC structure down to take it almost to the lows. And 2-4. This one actually will print a low here this week if it doesn't trade under it. So that might be the first one that goes, even though that had been a stronger sector. So you can see there's, you know, the structure is starting to line up for the potential for more problems, and that's when people have to recognize and get a little bit more safe. XLI, volume expands again. All of these leaving volume at the end. That will print as well if it doesn't take it out this week. 2 more days. So multiple sectors starting to line up with swing point lows on the intermediate term time frames that are within range. Always a dangerous situation. Let's look at the ox markets. I don't think much happened over here other than the fact that the dollar pushed higher today. It gapped up, but actually it didn't leave a very good bar. It pushed up and then kind of left a ugly bar. That one looks like it's going to come back down. This will turn into support now in the morning. It will test it tomorrow. And we'll see if it can hold the gap. Now, if it can hold the gap, it did a little ABCD up already and completed it here. A tiny one, but it did complete. So a little pullback, right? Back the other way. If I look at the FXE, I believe this one probably came back into that huge bar. Yeah, so it came back into this big bar. And it just doesn't have the volume. Volume was decent, but it doesn't have the volume to blow it out. It's going to try to rise back up. This will become resistance tomorrow, probably using this bar and that one. So you could probably get resistance right in there. It's going to come right back up into there and try to test it. FXY, let's see what this one did. Yeah, a little gap down, but a doji. That's not bad. This big bar is going to continue to control everything here for a while. It's going to be very hard to get over this area. So FXY, and of course that's Japanese yen. Let me take one quick look and see what oil's doing. I saw numbers, inventories up, and this one is actually finally coming back. Huh. That's that looks like it's going to try to break. That range trade looks like it's going to try to break. That's going to be tough on the oil sector if it does. And real quickly one more time, let me pop back in. I want to look at the XLE one more time. Yeah, it's got a swing point low, 79.83. That's not that far away, $2. Okay, that's one to watch also. All right, I think that's it. I don't see anything else. Let me quickly look at the junk bonds and the TLT. I don't believe the TLT I know was down today. Junk bonds really not doing anything yet. Not significant. Let me see how far the bonds came back because they sold off as well. And remember, the bonds went up, they tested, they got over the highs, changed trend. That's the first time they've done that in a very long time on this time frame. You'd had, weeks and weeks of down. Now you get a sideways. Now you're going to try to come back deeper and test again. Now, with bond prices coming down, rates are going up. But at the same time, if you look at where we've been, this and the dollar itself, the traders in these markets certainly aren't expecting a default. Now that may change, but right now that's not what they're expecting. And they're still holding in here pretty good, given all the wrangling going on in Washington. All right, I had a text message pop to me earlier. Let me see what we got here. So wants to look at ALTR. Let's take a look and see what these things are. So Altera is a chip stock. Question is, look at the 830 bar and let me know why it is painted blue. Okay, so there's some anchor bars. Okay, well actually there's two examples here. Solid blue and open blue, right? It's the same ideal that you see with solid red, open white. The only difference is they're anchor bars. When they're anchor bars, in other words, when they're holding up some support zone like this 830 number, when it's holding this support zone, anchoring that support zone, it gets a blue. It either gets blue complete, right? Closed, dark, or it's white. It's blue dark if the prior day had a higher close. It's blue white if the prior day had a lower close. And all that's actually explained if we pop into the site, and if you go into the charts and just hit this help button and pop in here to look at the explanations, somewhere down here, right here, blue body and a blue outline with a white body. So almost any, well, not almost any, but pretty much any of the tools on the site, for all of you that are members, all these tools, if you just hover, you'll get a help out here on the side that you can go to, and it will pop you into a help page. Every one of them has one to give you, like if we go to the watch list, it will give you an introduction to what the watch lists are. You can go in there, you can see how they operate, and there's a video, right? And so all these have this, and so I welcome you to take a look, and if there's more information that we're missing, just jot us at support and we'll make sure and add it. But I think we got a fairly comprehensive view of what they are and what they do, so hopefully that will help. Next question here is index test. Seems like the index test worked today, Tommy says. Yeah, they did. I mean, it wasn't pretty, but yeah, they did, and I expect we'll get a bounce out of it. They're set up to try to bounce, and you always want them to try and bounce, right? You got to crawl before you walk, and that's what they're doing. They're trying to take baby steps to turn around. The problem is that when you come down though and you leave too much volume, then you're inviting a repeat back down there, and a lot of times that happens fairly quickly because it suggests that the sellers are willing to sell more at lower prices, and if that's true, then a lot of times you're going to see more pressure be placed on those markets, that stock, whatever it is. How far could the S&P rally from here if it does? Another question. Let's go back to the S&P. Let me just put it in here right quick, and I'll do it from this. So if we go back and we pull it in on the daily here, if you look at it now, the bar that you're going to have to be interested in this one. Remember when we came down, we stagnated here, and we kept watching the top of this bar. We got into it one day, got back out of it the very next day, then we came right back into it, and then we got the break. The top of that bar is going to be tough on the way back. I suspect that's going to be hard to get back over. That's up at what, 1680 roughly. We're trading at 1656. So 14 points. That's 56, 60, 70, that's 80, about 26 points, right? That's doable. That also takes you back, there's two things here. And once this pushes up a little bit more, if it does, you're going to see this bar and that bar probably be your anchor. And I suspect that's where the trouble is going to be. So the top of this one's 1677 roughly to 79.50 or so. That's going to be a hard spot. If you get over that, well, maybe this is like we've seen, maybe this will be nothing more than like we've seen time and time again, and that is when you come back to the critical areas, this thing somehow finds itself and works higher again. And they're all V-shaped every time they do it. So if you're thinking about shorting this, you want to wait for evidence to short. You sure as heck don't want to short on a small bounce. You almost want to short the breakout, because every other example all year long has failed since November. It's been almost a year now. Okay, all right, let's see here. Let me take a look at a couple of stocks that, it's earnings season, so we had a couple stocks report today. We're just starting to get into them. Alcoa was yesterday. Matter of fact, let's start with a couple that reported yesterday and see how they fared. So Alcoa actually didn't hold up well, did it? Of course, the market was weak, but pretty good volume pushing up. And this, I was going to look at the weekly, but I didn't put it up on the weekly. Let me get Alcoa in here, see what the weekly looks like. Alcoa used to kick off the earnings season. Now that it's outside of the Dow, it kind of seems like maybe it doesn't belong as the primary kickoff. Seems to me like maybe JP Morgan's the one now. Yeah, Alcoa is just, you know, it's trying to finally put in a bottom. You saw a nice big spurt here, another one. This is not a bad bottom fisher if you're a bottom fisher. Yeah, it's kind of hard. Costco reported this morning. Now I didn't actually look at the numbers yet, and I'm guessing that what happened today was once the earnings hit the tape, we sold off pretty hard. You can see it from the way the candle's structured. But I'm guessing the call went well, and they explained away whatever because they rallied it all day long. Now, from a trader's perspective, I never liked these kind of bars because you pushed the lows with volume expanding, right, even though you rallied. So even though this thing can pop on up here to about 1577 on the weekly, I don't know, that's just, you know, 1570, it actually got there today almost, right, 1523. You know, it can go farther, but still, this is a big range trade now, in my opinion, even though it performed. Fastener, this is industrials. They make all sorts of industrial and construction supplies. They got hit pretty hard. So volume expanding there. Let's take a look at the weekly. Yeah, this is just a big range too. Huge range. Probably gonna range all the way from 40 to about 52 before it's over with. Micron reported after the bell. Let me see what they did after the bell. Up 2.4%, 43 cents higher. That puts them at 1830 after the bell. So 1830 would take you back up into these bars on a weekly. Would be the highs on the daily. Yeah, it takes you right back up into the highs. So this will be a constructive one tomorrow. This is a chip stock, right? They create a lot of the semi DRAM. Is it DRAMs? I don't know. They create a lot of memory chips. And they always fascinate me because I don't know how they make money, and they almost always seem to lose money, yet they seem to always stay. So it's kind of a strange relationship they have with the market. Let me look at a couple more questions. When you analyze the index, you follow certain rules. Is that covered in your book? Which book? When it goes up, when it comes back down, so forth. Yeah. I mean, the ideas, the model is really explained in this book. This book tries to give you, you know, that's trend qualification and trading. The trend trading setups book really looks and says how can you find the best trade once you understand the model. So yeah, it's in these two books. This one's a money management book, the first book, a lot cheaper than these two, but it's really about money management. You know, pick up a book. You get a free month trial of all the services, all the portfolios, you know, portfolio picks that I have that I manage day by day. You know, entry, exit, stops, they're all there every day. And if you wanted to, you could just piggyback me. We've had great returns this year. Up, I don't know what the numbers are, but it's probably 15-16%. So, you know, pick up a book, send it in, send it to support, and get your free month trial. Folks, I think we're going to get some sort of a little bounce here, but how far it carries is anybody's guess. We got news flow that can change everything on a dime. If you get any kind of suggestion over the next 2 days that they're going to reach a resolution, anybody that's short is going to have to cover, and anybody that's sold is probably going to want to put some back on. And so, you know, you could get one heck of a squeeze back the other way. I'm going to leave it at that. You have yourself a great night, and I will talk to you next time. Until then, I'm L.A. Little. This is and was your daily TA wrap. Good night, folks. Take care.